And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Well, happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of the Dads, Not Always on Wrestling. I am, of course, the founder of the Jeff Meacham Network, and we got to get the logo in the corner because it's not there yet. I forgot. There it is. Jeff Meacham here, along with the Renegade, JJ Williams, and it's not Friday, it's Thursday. I'm used to being on Friday. That's how tired I am. I haven't slept in 3 days, so I don't know what day I'm on. But anyway, we're past, you know what? We're past 5 minutes. I don't know what the fuck day I'm on. Anyway. How are you today, JJ? We got a triple header for the kids at home today, and this is how we're starting it off with this crazy hang between the two of us.
It's Thursday, Jeff.
I know.
What are we doing? I'm not even supposed to be here today.
What happened was we got a pay-per-view tomorrow, and
I have to work tomorrow.
Yeah, so, and you working, so my Friday's kind of fakaktima because of that. Not blaming the employer, for love of God, get the man hours. But
yeah, please, not just 4.
Shit. Yeah.
But
so
I digress because I want to keep the hours that I do get. So
yes, we do digress because it's not Saturday, so we still can't digress on a Thursday, just not on a Saturday. We don't do that on Saturdays no more. So, we try not to anyway. Pop is here already.
Yes.
Coming on in. Sherry's Row. We just live in it. Oh, wait. No, is that Is that Pop or is that different Jerry?
That's Pop.
Oh, okay. I didn't see any changes.
The John Lennon sketch that's next to his name.
Okay, yeah, it's very hard for me to see because my eyes suck. But yes, good to see Jerry.
You weren't raised to know the John Lennon sketch. Like that is a John Lennon sketch of himself.
Okay, it's a self portrait. Gotcha. Yeah. But we are here again on a Thursday because our schedules are what they are. But we had a topic, and I figured it's a good way to end July because it very much ties into at least one of the championships, but it's also, as you had discussed with me, the 45th anniversary, which is bananas to me, of the other championship. So with it being July and in the patriotic spirit that this country is in right now, especially after the last couple of weeks, God help us all, we decided
for the people that are on one side or the other, let's keep it neutral.
I did keep it neutral. Both sides are bananas right now, to be fair.
Bananas.
That's right. There you go. Her and Blake should run.
No, they should.
No. Okay, maybe not. Better than what we got to choose from right now. Just saying, but not by much. Considering those two. Anyway, we out here on a Thursday to talk about the greatest wrestlers to hold both the WWE Intercontinental Championship and the NWA Jim Crockett area / WCW / WWE US Championships.
Yes.
So to clarify for the boys and girls at home that just tuned in, unfortunately, we cannot consider people that did not hold one or the other. Now, there are people that held the New Japan Intercontinental Championship when it was still a thing, or the IWGP US Championship when it was still a thing.
Yes.
But did not hold both of these titles right here that are now in the WWE universe, because of course the US Championship came over from WCW.
And the Intercontinental Championship, of course, originated thanks to that fantastic tournament in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
That's right. Pat Patterson journeyed to the jungles of Brazil. God bless that pioneering man that he is, and won a tournament to claim that so legendary South American championship and unite it with his recently won from Ted DiBiase. That actually happened. North American championship, and became the Intercontinental champion in the same vein. Handsome Harley Race, fresh off his one and only reign as NWA World Champion at the time, it ended up being just a few more, endured a grueling tournament that nobody in the world saw to become the first NWA US champion. And of course, all the territories had their own US champion or the Mid-Atlantic champion or whatever. But it was that championship during the reign of an honorable mention, by the way, today, that it became the official undisputed US championship. And that's partly why I wanted to include that person on the list as well, because while number 10 and honorable mention reigns both came before our fandom, hell, most of them came before my lifetime, I had to mention them. Just had to. So we're going to jump right in based on that, because that was a hell of a lead-in. I'm not going to get any better than that today.
Yes. And let me just throw out there.
Yes, sir.
This is completely a Jeff property.
Valid.
Just want to make sure everyone knows it. Jeff definitely spearheaded this. I gave the thumbs up, thumbs down.
Right.
Threw a couple suggestions out there that made honorable mention status.
Yes.
But so if you guys disagree with this list, send the hate mail to @_Jeff Meacham on the Twix.
Unlike the baby punter, this is my fault. Now, at number 10 is a man who definitely his U.S. championship reigns came right before or in the early, and I mean like infant year, stages of my existence on this planet. Certainly before my lifetime. Intercontinental champion, he was actually the defending Intercontinental champion at the very first WrestleMania. And I am talking about the Hammer, Greg Valentine. And yes, I'd like to thank everybody at Mid-Atlantic Gateway because I wouldn't be able to find a picture of Greg with the U.S. title without those guys. So thank you, everybody at Mid-Atlantic, because, goddamn it, them suckers is hard to come by. But yes, Greg Valentine, and I'm going to go through, I'll mention up right now, Roddy Piper. And yes, that is not the WCW U.S. title that he held for approximately 6 days in 1999. That is the old style U.S. championship that now kind of looks like the current NWA national title. And there's a reason for that. That's because of that belt right there. But yeah, Valentine and Piper. I make no bones about my belief and what's out there in history that their battle over the United States Championship throughout 82 and 83, including a dog collar match at the very first Starrcade where Roddy lost more than half of his hearing in one ear because Roddy's a G like that.
Damn right.
Got Roddy Piper signed to the WWF. Valentine was already there by the time Roddy made his official debut. But the fact that they both came in as heels would not let us see them do battle in the WWF, which would have been just delicious if it would have happened. But I think even Vince was like, yeah, that might be too violent for me yet. Like maybe later, because that was pretty fucked up what happened to those two.
And that match is the entire reason why I thought that Roddy needed to be on this list, or at least mentioned, because
yes.
Holy hell. That was sheer and utter brutality in 1983.
Yeah.
Like, you look at some of the stuff that's done in modern day matches.
Yeah.
Some of it is tame in comparison. I
was going to say, last night was a good example of stuff that was probably a little too violent even for now. But
I mean, there's matches that are worse, not going to lie.
Oh no.
But there's also matches that can't hold a candle to that when it comes to violence.
And you know, back then, losing half your hearing was like, oh, part of the business, brother. Let's keep moving. And
God draw money. They'll be back next week.
And that's exactly why Roddy said that, because it was him that was drawing the money after having his ear blown up and destroyed. There's a reason that Tony Khan set out to have Greg Valentine at that dog collar match between Brody and Cody, because the match is that important to history. And it was that important that their secondary title, which is akin to the U.S. Championship, be so properly showcased. We say an awful lot of bad shit about Tony Khan on our channels, but having Greg Valentine at that match was the piece de resistance on that dog collar presentation. And considering we lost Brody not too long after, much more historical. But the only reason Roddy didn't make the list proper is because his Intercontinental Championship reign was a means to an end at the end of the day. Bret Hart was sick with the flu, negotiating with WCW, horribly sick with 108-degree fever while negotiating with WCW. So they had to get the belt off him. But then they went, do we really want the Mountie as the Intercontinental Champion on purpose? No. Roddy, what are you doing Sunday? Pretty much how that happened. Had they thrown Roddy a better bone, and granted, he had a great win, outsmarting the Mountie, had an amazing title loss to Bret at WrestleMania. Let's not kid ourselves. But I feel like if they'd given him a stronger run, because it was very clear he was never going to be the WWF champion as long as somebody else was that champion, brother. It wasn't going to happen for him, which is bullshit.
That's for me, brother.
Didn't work for him, brother. And that's a Hulkamaniac saying that. The fact that Roddy should have been the WWF. Roddy should have been the champion after War to settle the score. And it should have been the two of them in the main event. Even if Roddy had a month, he still would have been the damn world champion.
Yep.
Should have happened.
Yep.
But alas, it did not. But we're not going to get into the Hogan discussion today because Jeff can't help be triggered by Hogan right now. So we're going to move right along. And
they could have even had Piper win the title instead of Sheik win the title, and have Piper be the one that actually kicked off Hulkamania by dropping it to Hogan.
Yes. Well, if I remember right, and again, I'm going to have historical clarity later, hopefully during the rest of the day. Roddy had not yet recovered from Starrcade by the time the Iron Sheik won the title from Bob Backlund.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like I mean, when Roddy first came in '84, he was managing Dr. D, and then he ended up managing Orndorff. That was his first role because his equilibrium was just a bit off by that time. So, but yeah, in a perfect world, WrestleMania would have looked a lot different, and Mr. T's being late and not wanting to show up wouldn't have amounted to shit anyway. All right, the next two, as well as the next honorable mention, all tie in together.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, they can't not tie in together. For they are the Hounds of Justice. They are the three men that make the world go round in WWE back in 2015, 2012 to 2015, and even now they make the world go round in some respects in their respective companies they're in, because they're not in the same company anymore.
No.
I am talking about Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and honorable mention, Roman Reigns, The Shield. I'll start with Ambrose because he was the one that was U.S. champion first. When these guys came in, they made an immediate impact, as WWE hoped they would, interrupting the WWE Championship Match Survivor Series. But within a year, on the same night, if I remember correctly, Dean Ambrose became U.S. champion, and Rollins and Reigns became the WWE Tag Team Champions, defeating the legendary team now of the man we now once again call Bryan Danielson, and yet another political figure, Mayor Jacobs. So, all the politics. No. But the Shield were destined to be the men that led the WWE past the John Cena era. And Roman Reigns has definitely become that guy, which is why he's only honorable mention. Because at the end of the day, while we acknowledge our tribal chief, sorry, Solo, sorry, not sorry, Roman's destiny was never to be the secondary champion long term, the workhorse champion that would carry either title for the MVP length reign, right? For the Lex Luger and WCW length reign. It was never going to be Roman Reigns doing that. He was always going to be the top dog, the guy. Whereas Ambrose, to this day, Ambrose winning the WWE Championship surprises me. It really does. And it made for a great night because all three of them were champion on the same night, which was a cool stat. But I think of the three of them, Ambrose as WWE champion made the least sense, at least to me as a fan. So him being the U.S. champion for as long as he was the guy that finally eclipsed MVP as the longest reigning WWE specific U.S. champion. And no, MVP is on this list. He may have been Intercontinental champion, but I don't remember it. If I don't remember enough to even honorable mention him, if he was, my bad, Montel. I'm sorry. I hope you get a job in AEW and whoop that ass, but I don't remember you being Intercontinental champion if you were.
I don't think he was.
I don't think he was either. Like it doesn't ring true to me. U.S. champion most certainly, like I said. Yeah. And then his run as Intercontinental champion was during that period of time where he couldn't decide if he was a gas mask wearing crazy or just didn't want to be in the damn company no more. He couldn't make up his mind.
Little column A, little column B. We are talking about Ambrose. So
yeah, when you're talking about Ambrose, the columns were kind of shaky and not complete as it was. And Mox is a little cuckoo. We love Mox on this channel, but he a little sideways. Whereas Seth Rollins, granted, his run as U.S. champion was just a train wreck of storyline because he damn near killed John Cena in front of God and everybody, driving his nose into his brain. And then he only won the title in a champion versus champion match because Jon Stewart interfered.
Did you say Jon Stewart?
I did say Jon Stewart. That was that SummerSlam that Seth Rollins became the U.S. champion. Because God forbid anybody eclipse Ric Flair or even tie the record with Ric Flair as a 16-time world champion. John, Jon Stewart. You listen to the news show, right? All about stats, right? Rick's got more than 16. Shh. Don't tell Vince. Shh. Don't tell Hunter either. Shh. They know, just don't tell them.
Yeah.
But that was really the only reason Seth became U.S. champion at the end of the day, was that storyline. And granted, hell of a night of champions for him because he faced both John Cena and Sting on the same night. That's a pretty big deal from our boy from Davenport, Iowa, to face John Cena and Sting on the same night. What happened to Sting? Not so good a night. But Rollins as U.S. champion, while he was a WWE champion, was a pretty cool, brief period of time. He also was the defending Intercontinental champion in a match that we still talk about internally between him and Balor, and I believe it was The Miz at WrestleMania. That match was a banger. And his run as Intercontinental champion leading into it made it so. So that's why he is on the list. Granted, lower than you people probably think he should be, but there's reasons, and they're coming. At number 7, the man that everybody except Noah wants us to talk about, although Noah's come around on him in the last few weeks after the Owen Hart Memorial Cup.
Yes.
How can we not have this list of the greatest Intercontinental and U.S. champions without the greatest professional wrestler of all time, without your friend in mind, without a former Horseman, a former NWO leader, a former Bullet Club member, and by God, the only man that has any chance in hell of taming a Karen, Jeff Jarrett.
Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo, woo.
And yes, I went with classic Double J with the IC, with the light up hat, with the cowboy gimmick, with those ridiculous pajama tights that Bischoff hates so much. That's why I picked it, because damn it, I love me some Double J. And then of course, by the time he was U.S. champion WCW, he already chopped the hair off and was, talking about people being flat nuts, and it was a beautiful thing. Jarrett, as the Intercontinental champion, was the first person to be a major threat to Razor Ramon after Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that's the tweet.
That's the tweet. That's it. And he beat him. Shawn couldn't beat Razor for the Intercontinental title until they both became babyfaces. Jarrett did. And Jarrett, as Intercontinental champion, was a thing of beauty every single time he had that title. Of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the last time he officially won it, other than the SummerSlam Screwjob, brother, was in honor of Owen, which was a beautiful moment. And it could have been more of a beautiful moment, like we've talked about in the last 2 months, but And then he goes to WCW. And by the end of that calendar year, he debuted in October, folks, he was ready to be U.S. champion.
That's right.
And
because
was
he's that damn good.
Yes. Jarrett had the stroke, pun fully intended, to get that championship. And he ran with it until a concussion told him he couldn't run with it no more. And then when he came back from the head bump, Commissioner Kevin Nash said, okay, you can have it back again. And he ran with it up until April 10th of 2000. And the notorious day on Nitro, where all the belts were vacated. And then he spent 6 days without a belt, and then he got an upgrade, became the world champion. So, would Jeff Jarrett have?
Dare I say, back in '99, Jeff Jarrett was the best in the world at what he did.
Jeff Jarrett was, despite what certain former promoters' sons will tell you, he could draw a dime.
I mean, think about it. In 1999 alone, WWF Tag Team Champion.
Yes.
Intercontinental Champion, European Champion, and the United States Champion.
Yes. And was factored into a major storyline at Starrcade 99 had he not. Well, no. Starrcade he actually did work. But, yeah. 99 was a very mixed bag of a year.
WrestleMania and Starrcade in the same year.
Like I said, he may have been hurt for Starrcade 99, which is why Benoit had the night he did. I'm just trying to remember now. So let me fact check my own damn self, because I don't want to be that guy. All right, okay, yeah.
While you look that up, I'm going to address Daniel.
Oh, okay.
No, he wouldn't have, because
No,
Stone Cold wouldn't have allowed it.
No, there
Stone
was
Cold refused to work with Jarrett.
Yeah,
plain and simple.
And they've talked about that on My World. So Jarrett had 2 matches at Starrcade '99.
There you go.
He I don't think he came. Yeah, Benoit retained the U.S. title, so Benoit was U.S. champion going into Starrcade because of him beating. I think he beat Sid, maybe Goldberg. I don't remember. Anyway, he defeated Jeff Jarrett in a ladder match toward the end of the night before Bret Hart and Goldberg went to work. But Jarrett beat Dustin Rhodes at Starrcade 1999 in a bunkhouse brawl, no less. So Jarrett beat a Rhodes member in the Rhodes family's match. Like I said, Jarrett had a mixed bag of a 99.
Absolutely.
But he came in as, I believe he either already won the tag titles or were going to very quickly after 99 started. And he exited the year beating a Rhodes family member in a bunkhouse brawl and just barely falling short as U.S. champion.
Yeah, and let's not forget, the team that they retained those titles against at WrestleMania was the established, the tremendous, the oh my God, I can't even find the adjectives to describe the way they were booked tandem of D'Lo Brown and Test.
Who won a Battle Royal on Heat.
And they were the last 2 people that survived, so they got a tag title shot.
And they were still fighting as well.
Yeah.
Pardon the bad phone. Nope. Quiet you.
Huh? I heard you reapplied, Jeff. Huh? Can you come in for an interview?
I did. Nice, Mickey. Nice, Mickey. Hopefully the caller in his teenage wisdom will take the hint that I'm on the air. And he knows I'm on the air. And he's calling anyway. Put the phone down, Bubba. Anyway. Now, yes, Jeff Jarrett. I literally was going to transition to the question that Daniel kind of threw in the comment. I don't think Jeff Jarrett was ever going to be the WWF champion. But he made for a great WCW champion in a time where great WCW champions were needed.
Yes.
Because 99-2000 was a shit show.
Jeff Jarrett as the champion in WCW and the early TNA days was the perfect champion to carry that ball.
Yes.
Jeff Jarrett as the champion in the WWF when you had Austin, Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, Kane for a night, Mankind. Where does Jeff Jarrett fit in all that? In all seriousness?
Even Vince himself. Yeah. There was so much.
I love Jeff, but he would not have gotten a WWF title run until the end of maybe the Invasion. Maybe the Invasion. If he had come over with that WCW talent.
Yes.
Maybe the early Ruthless Aggression era. If he had stayed with the company. But not in that Attitude era.
No.
Not gonna do it. It wouldn't be prudent at that juncture.
Far too many cooks in that proverbial kitchen in 98, 99.
Yeah.
In much the same vein, the next 2 men, number 6 and our final honorable mention of the day, were both in WCW when they first held the U.S. Championship. And the only reason the honorable mention became world champion at the beginning of 2000 was because, as I said, the company was a shit show and they were trying anything to retain both of their services as well as their fellow radical partners. I, of course, am talking about
what you did there,
Eddie Guerrero. And yes, we say his name and he shall appear on this show anyway. Chris Benoit.
Chris Benoit's here and he's really mad. Chris Benoit's here and he's angry.
You know what's funny? I found pictures of him smiling as U.S. champion, and I'm like, these are almost worse. Like, they're almost creepier. Like, I'm kind of good. Seems way too happy to be the U.S. champion. Every world championship picture, he's dude, you got the big gold finally, dude. Cheer the fuck up. Like, what are you doing? What are we doing?
There were smiles the night that he won it.
I know.
Years.
No, but
every photo after that.
But like the posed studio shots, not a goddamn fight. Whereas Eddie is the WWE champion, he's like, holy shit, look what I got. He was
Orale, Holmes, I'm the champion, SA.
He was happy as a dicky bird. Shit. You kidding me?
I'll try not to ever do that again, I promise.
I appreciate that because I almost felt less white than you at that point. So thank you for redeeming my not complete crystal clearness on that one. It happens every once in a while, folks, and it's rare. So if you caught it, good on you. If you didn't, watch it on demand because it ain't going to happen very often.
I'll tell you what, I'll only ever do that again if I get super chatted to do it.
Valid. Yes. And we need super chats, folks. We broke and we're not going to make payout because we had to cancel our game show this month. So please super chat us. Please. Wait. Is it in here? No, it's in the other one. That's okay. We'll find it later. But yeah, Benoit and Guerrero, again, WCW wise, other than their last night in the company, they were never going to rise above this level, the Intercontinental US level.
Yeah.
Which is why they both made such good US champions in WCW. Eddie, of course, had that brief run after Starrcade 96 with a little help from the NWO, but they weren't trying to help Eddie. They were just trying to screw Dallas at the end of the day. And then had that great match with Sean Waltman that sold out, which turned out much better than people would have thought, considering how much of a nonsense show that was. And then, of course, he lost it to Dean Malenko, who then lost it to Jeff Jarrett, who went on his run. And then Benoit was U.S. champion a couple times in 1999, had that miraculously legendary feud with David Flair. And then ultimately became U.S. champion, I believe it was 2 different times. They both go to WWE. Eddie Guerrero becomes the comedic relief of the Radicals, becomes European champion. Benoit, of course, becomes Intercontinental champion at my first WrestleMania live attended, 2000. In a hell of a 2-fall triple threat with a guy who, yes, also not on this list, by the way, but I probably should mention him briefly, Chris Jericho. One of the greatest Intercontinental champions of all time, but the U.S. Championship reign was just kind of there. And of course, Kurt Angle, another guy who's held both, but his U.S. Championship run was about 3 weeks in 2001. Yeah, I'm kind of good. Eddie, of course, becomes Intercontinental champion later in 2000 during the ending of his storyline with Mamacita. And then he regained it when he came back to the company in 2002 and had a phenomenal series with Rob Van Dam over the title, who then had a phenomenal series with Chris Benoit over the Intercontinental title. So, and then Benoit and Guerrero were actually the final 2 men in the tournament to crown the returning U.S. championship into WWE. Eddie being the first U.S. champion in WWE control in 2003. And then Benoit had it a couple different times, most notably squashing Orlando Jordan repeatedly on multiple nights. And then his feud toward the end of his life with MVP, where MVP finally became U.S. champion on 3rd try, and he went on his own run. So I couldn't have this list. We couldn't have this list without both of these guys. Eddie was the first WWE-centric U.S. champion. Benoit, for better or worse, when you think about his life and his career, he made that U.S. championship mean something. His battles with Booker T over that U.S. championship in WWE damn near eclipsed his battles with Booker T for the WCW TV title.
Yeah. And the U.S. title was the last title that he held in WWE.
Yes, that's true.
You know, he lost the title to MVP, and then a few weeks later, he was supposed to face CM Punk for the ECW championship, and shit happened.
Yeah.
And
he was going to be
that.
Yeah.
He was supposed to win the ECW
title. I was going to say.
But shenanigans were afoot. Strange things were afoot at the Circle K.
Yeah, got a little bit too extreme.
And I think that's the only reason why Punk didn't win the title when Morrison got thrown in there.
Right.
Because he wasn't supposed to win the title in the first place.
No. I just think about again, this is not on the topic of this show, but I think about what a series between Punk and Benoit could have looked like. Oh my God. Like, take my damn money wherever that's happening. And yeah, Paulie always wanted to make him ECW champion. It didn't work out in either company. All right, from here on, it's a straight shot to the end. No more honorable mentions. Benoit was the last one. Coming in at number 5 was a guy who, unfortunately for him, when he was the WCW US champion, had to really fight to show that he was not just the US champion because of nepotism, if you will. But then he went on to WWE, WWF at the time, and made not only his own way, but made the Intercontinental Championship his own. Much like when Jeff Jarrett defeated Razor Ramon and went on a run and a half, so did the former WCW US champion Dustin Rhodes, who had become Goldust in the WWF. Jay, as you know, I'm going back and reliving my childhood through binges on Peacock and YouTube of WWF and WCW television.
Yes.
Dustin Rhodes, you know, Dusty himself always called Barry Windham the most natural gifted athlete he ever saw in wrestling. And I think he really only said that in later years because he didn't want to overhype Dustin's natural ability. He was the natural, right?
Yeah. The original American Nightmare.
The original American Nightmare, but that was a 99 WCW, Dustin. We try not to talk about that too much. Because my goodness.
No. That 1999, we try not to talk about 7.
Right. Yes. Even Dustin didn't want to talk about 7. Nor did Turner Sands in practices, apparently. But, you know, we'll run the vignettes for 6 weeks and then just bury it and make him do an Uncle Fester promo. What are we doing? Oh, WCW 99. That's what we're doing. But yeah, Dustin in 1991 and 92, all the way up until 95, when he and Barry Darsow hopped on the back of a truck and bladed and got their asses fired. Unsung pillar of that under the radar in WCW. You had Sting, you had Flair, you had Vader, you briefly had Ron Simmons, didn't yet have Hogan, but everybody else was fighting for that secondary spot. Dustin, stunning Steve Austin, Paul Orndorff, ravishing Rick Rude, who we'll maybe not get to later. Guys like that were having to fight for the U.S. championship. Rude got past it. He became the international champion. Was supposed to be NWA champion. NWA went, can we have a vote on our own title? Thank you. No? Oh, all right. You keep the belt then. But we're going to go this way with Shane Douglas. God damn it, Shane Douglas. All right. Can we, Chris Candido, what are you doing today?
Yeah. Hindsight being 2020, I think they went with the wrong guy.
Well, to be fair to the NWA, they weren't aware they were going to get bamboozled in Philadelphia, you know. And again, WCW not wanting to have the shackles of the NWA. In 93, I'm not blaming WCW for that shit at all. It's a train wreck, but I digress. Dustin Rhodes did everything that he was going to be able to do in WCW by 1995. He was never going to be the world champion, especially after July of 94. That wasn't happening.
Because that doesn't work for me, brother.
I'm pretty sure Hogan liked Dustin, but Dustin had not established that he could be a main eventer by the time Hogan showed up. And he certainly wasn't going to be once Hogan showed up. So he went to WWE and in a risky move that paid off became Goldust. And other than the gentleman that's coming up later at a higher number, I would dare say Goldust was the greatest Intercontinental champion of the 1990s. Yes, you had another person on this list, along with the person I mentioned. We're kind of getting lost in the translation here, but Goldust held it multiple times. Even in '99, he was Intercontinental champion as well with the Oval belt. But Goldust really, and again, would Goldust have worked as the WWF champion? it would have been shocking. It would have been controversial. But long term, with everybody else there in the top, probably not.
See,
And yeah,
I think that it would have worked, but the thing is it would have had to have been done early.
yeah,
To the point where it almost would have been too early, because once Goldust started to become a joke, it would have been dead on arrival. I mean,
no, I agree.
you figure, okay, he came to WWE in 95.
Right. And became the champion in 96, but at that point they were full speed ahead with Shawn. So they weren't going to have Goldust beat Shawn Michaels right after Shawn achieves his boyhood dream.
No, but we could have had him win the title at In Your House, the Final Four, after Shawn lost his smile.
Yeah, that's true.
We could have had him beat Bret Hart instead of having it go to Sid.
Yeah, because at that point he was already on that slow babyface turn when he was beefing with Hunter.
But anytime come 98, once the Austin era began, no fucking way.
Yeah, I think
No way.
Yeah. The time to pull the trigger would have been 97, and unfortunately, for better or worse, the Shawn Michaels Bret Hart show was dominating the world title. The Undertakers happened to get it.
Yeah.
Because you figure Sid was champion going into the year, but it was they were going to San Antonio. Shawn was going to win the belt. It was going to be a thing. He was going to face Bret at WrestleMania, if you believe everything you read. But he got hurt. He lost his smile, lost his knee, whatever. And then Bret got it, and then Sid got it back. And, it was the time to pull the trigger. Final Four is actually not a bad idea because you put him in there instead of Vader. So you have Goldust, Undertaker, Bret, and Steve. And then Vader could have had his program with Foley and then battling Bulldog and Owen start a little bit earlier. Instead of having Vader be managed by Paul Bearer for no reason, solo against Undertaker. Like, okay, I guess. But yeah, Goldust
again. Bret, Steve, were
Undertaker
in. Okay, Taker, and then Dustin,
and then Vader, and then Dustin instead of Vader.
Vader. So you've got Bret and Steve who are going to have the carryover that's going to lead into their 13 match anyway. So you automatically eliminate them from the equation. And because of the chaos, Dustin gets a fluke victory over the Phenom.
Even for a night. Exactly.
Then gets it back at Mania.
Right.
And Dustin falls to the streak as Goldust.
Yes.
Instead of Sid.
Yeah. I'm all for that.
And that would have given Taker a better match at Mania, if we're being honest.
Yeah. It was because
granted, Goldust is very gimmicky a worker, but because Dustin is the man behind the gimmick, we would have been able to see that Taker could pull a great match out instead of just going in there against big guys a lot sooner than we did. Because it wasn't until the Return of the Dead Man at 21 that we really saw Taker start pulling out classic matches at Mania.
I agree.
Everything prior to that was just gimmick.
Yep.
So there would have been that one diamond in the rough there against Dustin that would have been a great match.
Yep.
Amongst the Giant Gonzalez's, amongst the Bundys, amongst the Diesels.
Yeah. Him Diesel was good though.
Amongst the fucking Big Show and
train together.
Yeah. Because Nathan Jones was good enough to get thrown to the angle, but not good enough to work the actual fucking match. So
But then he works the finish too. Huh? What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly.
That was one crazy creative day. I will say that. Plus, Undertaker beating Goldust at WrestleMania shows a certain former booker in Atlanta that nobody will ever pay money to see you. I just beat Dusty's kid. We had a hell of a match. Suck it, Ole Anderson.
Yeah.
There you go. Instead of beating Sid, who by 97, WCW was like, can Sid not come back this time?
Yeah.
He done stabbed Arn already, and we still brought his ass back.
Yeah, I was going to say, instead of beating Sid, whose legacy is stabbing Arn and jumping off the top rope and breaking his leg.
Right.
Name me something else that Sid Vicious is actually, going down in his legacy. Promos not counting because he's got about as good of a promo as the fucking Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
But those two things are the career-defining moments for Sid.
Yeah. Yeah, not
WWE Hall of Famer Sid Vicious. What's the show that they're doing where Foley the treasures,
hidden treasures.
Here's the scissors that Sid used to stab Arn Anderson. And the cast from when he broke his leg jumping off the top rope.
I'm gonna bet good money those scissors are locked up in freaking the Tower of London somewhere at this point.
God damn it!
Just saying. By the way, we know Sid's actively pursuing a Hall of Fame induction, and while I personally I disagree.
Think he deserves it.
Okay,
Coco, beware.
Okay, but you can't use my argument against me again for a whole year. Anyway.
Sid at least has been world champion of multiple companies, competed in all three companies at one point during the Attitude Era.
Valid. Okay.
Was a four horseman for better or for worse.
Yeah, but at least Coco didn't stab a stablemate at one point that we know of. That we know of, and I am not accusing Coco Beware of anything. Let me be clear on that statement right now. Oh Lord, we're just goddamn it. Moving right along to number 5. Number 4. Yeah. Drive faster, Frog. Anyway, at number 4, who was originally number 5, but I thought about it. I'm like, nah, he's got to be higher. And no, it's not because we've known him forever. It's because he was a great U.S. champion at a time where the U.S. Championship was just kind of there in the early to mid 2010s. But I dare say, not counting actual length of the championship run, looking at Gunther and the Honky Tonk Man, this man has been the greatest intercontinental champion of the 21st century. Is that what I said? The Miz.
Because he is awesome.
It is because of the Intercontinental Championship that Mike Mizanin got that moment on Talking Smack that people still talk about now. It is because of him being Intercontinental Champion that we've got so many great matches in the Intercontinental Championship filmography in the last decade. It is because of that man, Mike Mizanin. Mm-hmm. So, since he held both, I could not include him. He was definitely, off the top of my head, he had to be on this list.
Yeah. Cody won the IC title, resurrected that old school title that you see on the Miz's shoulder there. Miz took that title and brought it back to the prestige that it had when Brett and Shawn, etc., held it.
Yes. Exactly. And as far as the U.S. Championship, yes, it'll always be remembered for him dropping it to Truth, or to Brett, rather. Him dropping it to Brian. But you know what? That's
the era of the Miz with the faux hawk, man. How long did I rock that faux hawk?
Lord. I know.
With my hat that looked like the Miz's.
I remember.
I remember. Like that was my Miz.
Yes.
The IC title Miz was during an era where I had already stepped away for the most part.
Right.
The U.S. title Miz, that was my Miz.
Yes.
And of course, his first run as champion, when he successfully defended it against John Cena in the middle of the ring at WrestleMania without any interference whatsoever. Clean victory.
Not even from The Rock.
No.
Wasn't there. Wasn't booked.
It's just like how Randy Orton walked to the ring in Toronto in those god-awful peach tights and found the World Heavyweight title just laid in the middle of the ring.
They see me floating from New York, gonna land in.
Will never die.
No,
Never.
Not a once. Not a once. Miz also, as U.S. champion, became Mr. Money in the Bank. Lest we forget that. Which led to that championship reign that included the defense against John Cena that he won clean with no help whatsoever in Atlanta.
Right.
In front of 40,000 people at the Georgia Dome when it was still a thing. Before it imploded incorrectly.
Were more people in the Georgia Dome to see Miz retain the title than were there to see Goldberg beat Hogan?
I'd have to check
I'd like to know.
I will look into that while we're going over the rest of this list. You mentioned somebody else in your dissertation about the Miz about bringing the title back to prominence during those two, like those guys did. I had to be talked into buddy number 3 on the list, and no, it wasn't by him.
Nope,
it's actually by Aaron Rift. I went to Aaron this week. The original boss. That's right. I went to Aaron this week and I said, "You've been my wrestling fan person longer than anybody, and I'm having trouble. But here's what I have." And I gave the list I had to him at that point, and he goes, "What about this person?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I was definitely going to put him on solely on his Intercontinental Championship runs and just kind of overlook his U.S. Championship runs like they actually were." But Aaron pointed out to me, it's like his Intercontinental Championship reigns were so good that it doesn't matter that his U.S. Championship runs in 1998 were just wishy-washy background fodder to the NWO versus WCW storyline. I am talking about the excellence of execution, the best there is, was, ever will be, Bret Hart. He is one of the few guys that held both secondary titles and both world titles. And had WCW not been such a when he was world champion, he would have likely gone down as one of the great WCW world champions of all time. It was just, the booking was so sideways at that point. Not even Bret Hart and his greatness at that point could overcome it. And, you know, taking a kick to the head didn't exactly help his night either. But, you know, that gets over mentioned, so I'm just going to graze past it. Because Bret as U.S. champion in 1998, and then in 1999 briefly when he beat Goldberg, thanks to the Outsider's help, gave the U.S. championship a little bit of that, hey, it's still our workhorse title. It's still our version of the Intercontinental. The guys that are going to work the hardest are going to be the U.S. champion. While in the WWF as Intercontinental champion, there was nobody better at that point, because when he first beat Mr. Perfect, Perfect was going to go off on hiatus with the back injury, became the greatest executive consultant of all time, die on that hill with a stake of Charlotte something, I don't know, whatever, stake in my heart at some point. And then had that great match with Roddy, had the great match and the loss to the Bulldog, and then never looked back.
Yep.
The Intercontinental Championship got him to the WWF Championship, which is what it's supposed to do.
There you go. And I have the statistics. While you were doing that, I looked it up.
Thank you.
So for Monday Nitro, July 6th, 1998, featuring Goldberg and Hogan for the main event,
advertised,
we had 41,412.
Not bad for a TV.
For WrestleMania 27, where The Miz defeated John Cena in the middle of the ring, 100% clean, no interference, 71,617.
Wow. All right. And again,
almost
Goldberg,
double.
Yeah. Goldberg and Hogan drew what they drew on 4 days' notice. I got to give WCW that. They should have given it more notice, but drawing that many on 4 days, that speaks to the power of the NWO at that point, and Hogan's
30,000
hateability.
tickets supposedly were sold prior to the announcement of the main event. So they only gained an extra 11,000
Something.
based off of the main event in 4 days.
It's true. So, but yeah, 70. And again, it's a WrestleMania.
Money, damn it.
No, absolutely.
It's not
now,
the
I
fact
said
that
that
it was John Cena. It's not a fact that the show was hosted by the biggest name in Hollywood, who absolutely did not cause any interference whatsoever, shenanigans.
damn right. It was this man and this man alone.
100%. Yep.
You know what? Fuck it. Mr. Greatest WWE champion of all time. Moving right along.
Yep,
I don't give a shit anymore. I don't
Damn
give a fuck. It's our fucking channel. Whatever. I don't care anymore.
Hey, two-time Grand Slam champion. Can Bret Hart claim that? Can Shawn Michaels claim that? Can Triple H claim that? Can Ric Flair claim that?
Ric Flair can claim anything he wants, drunk as he is, whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to argue with him because he's crazy. I mentioned that the Intercontinental Championship should lead to the WWF Championship.
Yes.
Bret's case, it did. In Miz's case, it came after the Intercontinental Championship. The WWE Championship was before he was Intercontinental Champion. These next two guys, number 2 and number 1, technically speaking, their Intercontinental and U.S. Championship runs did not lead to the WCW or WWF Championships. There's an asterisk on number 1, but number 2, while he was never the WWF.
Number 2 actually had been a world champion prior to coming to the WWF.
That's right, because even in the dying days of the Minnesota territory, don't you know, Vern Gagne went, you know what? This guy should be Bockwinkel. And by God, he did. The greatest Intercontinental Champion of the 1990s, Mr. Perfect, and the man who single-handedly destroyed the Horsemen once and for all until like 10 months later or a year later. Curt Hennig, Mr. Perfect. I cannot ever speak bad about Curt Hennig as a wrestler. What I've heard from people that knew him, I'd be hard-pressed to find something to talk bad about Curt Hennig as a person. And when I started watching...
The only thing I could say negative about Curt Hennig as a person, and it only ties into the gimmick more so than the actual man, because God damn it, he's saying that rap is crap song at a time when I was very, very much a rap fanatic, a hip-hop fanatic.
Valid.
So that's the only bad thing I can say about Curt Hennig and the West Texas Rednecks with their hit song Rap is Crap, that at the time was about as viral as Joe Hendry's theme is today, if we want to be real.
I can't make him appear because he said his name. It's in the other room, but he will later. We're doing an Impact watch along. We'll see Joe Henry later. Just saying. So yeah, but and hell, that song charted, which is ridiculous. And that song charted for real. Like, what are we doing? What had happened? But when I started watching professional wrestling in 1990, Curt had recently been deposed as the Intercontinental Champion thanks to the Texas Tornado, but then he won it back. And granted, my entire wrestling actual fandom from October 6, 1990 until now, he was only Intercontinental Champion from November of 91 until SummerSlam, November of 1990, excuse me, until SummerSlam 91. Not a long period of time. But he was almost a year. Total, he was champion for just shy of 2 years. But he was one of the few bad guys that 7-year-old Jeff went, man, he may be a dick, but he's an athlete. He's a hell of an athlete. And I always gravitated toward Perfect. And I was so sad when his wrestling career seemed to keep ending and not getting any further back off the ground multiple times in 93, 94, 95, and in 96 even. And we went to WCW. I'm like, oh, please put him with the NWO. I know they wanted, and they did it, and he was a great U.S. champion, lost to Dallas Page at Starrcade. And the only match between the two parties at WCW that actually made any goddamn sense. Sorry, Eric and Larry. Not really. Sorry, Sting and Hogan. Definitely not really. And yeah, Kurt kind of gets, overlooked in WCW because it was already slightly going off the rails by the time he got there.
Yeah.
And the gimmickry
kind of going off the rails.
Well, 97, it was still pretty solid. It was still on the tracks. Yeah. But once the NWO storyline really splintered and they put him and Rude with Wolfpack because why? Like, they're about as babyface as freaking Miz at WrestleMania 27. Like, no. No. These are not babyface people. Stop that. Good thing they rectified it right away. And they dropped Conan in the process, which, bonus points for that shit. Fucking Conan. Anyway, I can't ever say enough good things about Curt Hennig. And he's my favorite Intercontinental champion of all time, period. End of sentence. Because he was technically not my first, but the first solid one that was a champion for a while. Love Tex Tornado. He's on the cover of my very first WWF magazine, and it's up there in the safe where it belongs, out of harm's way. So now, I said there was an asterisk on number 1 as far as becoming the WWF or the WCW champion after being Intercontinental or US. On the WWF side, there is no asterisk because he never won the WWF championship, even though he should have against the Warrior, Jeebus. However, while he did not win the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, as mentioned earlier in complete unintended passing, he was booked to win the NWA World Championship in 1993 after the greatest U.S. championship run I ever saw, personally. But because the NWA board went, hey, that's our decision, he became the WCW International Champion, as represented by the big gold belt. And I am, of course, referring to, assumes Gary Michael Capetta voice, Ravishing Rick Rude. And again, I wish his run with the Intercontinental belt in '89 would have been longer. It only went from WrestleMania to SummerSlam. But again, let's keep trying Warrior, see how it works out for us.
Yeah.
Whereas U.S. Championship, the irony is great for me on this because much like he beat Warrior in the WWF, when he arrived in WCW, the mission statement was there. Paulie Dangerously had been, again, removed from commentary. He reacquired his manager's license, signed up Medusa as the director of covert operations, and formed a dangerous alliance. And the centerpiece was the Halloween Phantom. At Halloween Havoc 91, and off the mask came, and there he was, after a year away from the spotlight, Ravishing Rick Rude. Halloween Havoc was like October 27th, I want to say, of 1991. By the November 19th Clash of the Champions, he had defeated Warrior's former partner and the franchise of WCW, Sting, and went a complete calendar year. He was the United States champion the entirety of 1992. Nobody could touch Rude on the mic, in the ring, anything. Rude
not even
was
on commentary.
Not even on commentary, by God, and that's legit because he was awesome when he would sit in with. At that point, it would have been Shivani and Ventura, and even JR was still there for a while. But man, it is unfortunate that a legitimate injury, which led to further legitimate injuries to his back, derailed Rick Rude. And it's very unfortunate that the NWA and WCW couldn't work something out, because Rick Rude having an actual run as the NWA World Champion would be too fucking cool for school. It really would. He was the holder of the big gold belt 3 times as international champion, defeated Sting for it, regained it from Hiroshi Hase on one of the reigns. And again, had he not crushed his back in a match in Japan with Sting, may have been the guy to battle with Ric Flair to unify the titles before it went to Hogan. The match of the Clash was great between Sting and Flair. I'm actually getting close to that on my binge at this point. But Flair and Rude in a rematch to unify those titles. And dude, if Rude would have won that and actually been able to do business with Hulk, holy shit. Holy shit. But again, that's a great what if, as we often have in wrestling. But for me, the greatest wrestler to hold both championships, despite the unnecessary shortness of his Intercontinental Championship run, is Ravishing Rick.
And what did I tell you when I saw the images and that you had Rude number 1?
Even though you're not a particularly big Rick Rude fan, you couldn't argue with me on it. Rude had every opportunity to completely nosedive when he left the WWF for the reasons he did. And instead, WCW picked him up and went, "What would you like to do?" And him and Paul went, just teaming with Austin and Zbyszko and Arn and Bobby Eaton and Medusa, and just, again, they had those moments of glittering hope in WCW. And then the folks in the suits in the South Tower would just come in and pee in the Kool-Aid. Like, Rick Rude's a great example of that. Should have been a dominant world champion, actually called the world champion.
Yeah.
But they took every opportunity to call him, as recognized by WC International. It's like, no disrespect to Ron Simmons or Vader or Flair, but god damn, Rick Rude was too damn good to be that relegated. It pisses me off. Anywho, JJ, as you know, we're not done. We're not even done today.
No, we still have a lot of content coming.
Yes. What you're about to see here, kids, and these ridiculous shills, is just between tonight and the end of next Saturday, August 3rd. You saw the watch-along trailer as we started our day. Tonight, with the gentleman on the show with me today and Noah Foster on the call, TNA Impact will once again be live to its wonderful, beautiful subscribers. And we'll have our coverage beginning a half hour before Impact starts because, well, we don't have the ground rolling. We actually want to get our shit in first. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific tonight. Just a little under 2 hours from now. And then, yes, and then.
And then.
They will have Simply Predicting, JJ. You and
No.
you and Mr. Foster again.
That.
Oh, you will not be there for that. Okay.
I do not follow Ring of Honor. I have no
That's
clue
valid.
what's going on to be able to make educated comments or whatnot. I will not be there for that.
I see the message you sent me. I did get those, what do you call it, Meachemized. And man, this lineup for Impact, my goodness, look at this shit. We're starting off with the world champion, Nick Nemeth. We're going to hear from Josh Alexander and his shenanigans at Slammiversary. You've got a 6-man tag match between the System and Fandango. I know it's JDC. Against Matt Hardy and ABC. AJ Francis versus Sami Callihan. Sammy, you know what you have to do tonight. You know what you have to do. And then, of course, Steve Macklin against Cody Deaner. And a mixed tag, Eric Young and Jordan Grace against Ash by Elegance and Hammerstone, who, Hammerstone, again, I'm glad that guy got signed. He is a hell of a hand and really made a splash here on the West Coast side of things. And I'm glad TNA picked him up. That guy's way too good to not be under contract. So good on TNA for that.
I haven't been too thoroughly impressed by him.
Okay.
That's just me. He seems more like a WWE style guy
Valid.
than a TNA guy.
Right.
So I mean,
But he's teaming with your favorite TNA knockout. That's reality.
anyways.
Anyways,
I will try to be a good boy tonight based off of what you put in the chat earlier. I will try to refrain from my Dimeless Dana Brooke commentary.
see, that makes me chuckle. That shit makes me chuckle.
If it's okay for one, it should be okay for all.
It's the balance. It's the balance. It's the ferocity of it is what I honestly don't remember Dana, Ash, whatever you want to call her, having a bad attitude. That's the difference. I think from what I recall meeting her and having interactions with her, she's good people. Just, she's not there yet on the talent front, at least for our money. Ring of Honor, we're gonna be simply predicting that tonight. So then tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, we will have the call of Death Before Dishonor. That'll be a Noah and James project.
Yes.
On the commentary with me in the booth, again, not leaving this house until after SummerSlam because everything runs past 5 p.m. So there you go. Saturday, we have a legitimate, damn near simulcast. This one's starting a half hour earlier than the other one, but UFC 304 with Walter and Noah on the call at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern, and then beginning at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Do you have this graphic, by the way?
I do not know.
I will send that to you.
That says January, by the way.
It does. So I'm just going to take that shit down because I can't spell July, apparently. Good thing you mentioned that. I'm just going to go ahead and go. Boop. It'll be July 27th.
Yeah, this Saturday.
It's Saturday, 10 p.m., 7 Pacific, with Battle of the Belts that won't change hands.
Wouldn't we be starting it at the same time as UFC? That way we can hype the card a little bit.
What card are we hyping? We got one fucking match announced.
So far. By the time they go live, they'll probably fill the card out tomorrow on Rampage.
One would hope. If they give us a filled out card, I'll start both at the same time. That's fine. No problem with that. Tony Khan, looking at you. Throw me a freaking bone here. And I'll tell you what, have an actual title match where I believe. I want to believe, Tony. What I do know that is factual is that we will have open mic night at 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. And then we'll round out the weekend with Bloodsport coverage on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, of course. Again with Noah and Walter on the call. No, Walter and James on the call. I'm back on Monday. Stat Boy's back on Tuesday. We got NXT coverage again the next 2 Tuesdays on Sci-Fi, by the way, for you kids watching at home.
Yes.
The video part will be on Sci-Fi because, by God, the Olympics start tomorrow. They're actually already on now, but the opening ceremonies are tomorrow. But if you want to watch soccer all day, every day, 24 hours, that shit's already going. So have at it. Wednesday will also be the 200th episode of the Greg Cherry Show. So come on by the Greg Cherry brand and the Jeff Beach Network and celebrate with us. Date to be determined on this, but of course, with the show next weekend, we will have Simply Predicting SummerSlam streaming live next week, and then SummerSlam itself is Saturday, August 3rd, also beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. We got a lot of shit to go.
Yes.
And then August 4th, we shall rest. In theory.
Maybe.
Unless something else gets booked, but
And
thank you.
Now that you've said that,
yes.
Now that you've said that, something else will.
No, I know, and that's okay. August 3rd is my brother's birthday, so I'll get to celebrate him on air. So that's always good. I kind of hope we're busy August 11th because I had a whole stream in mind planned to celebrate a particular birthday boy that day, but I don't want to no more. I don't want to just do my own thing. Doesn't work for me, brother. Yeah, it doesn't work for me to do that anymore, brother.
In the words of my daughter, I know no wanna.
I don't know. I definitely don't know one. Wanted to really bad, but he maybe not want to. That's it. We're done for now. But we'll be back on. We'll be back in an hour and 45. So
yes,
there you go. When we see you guys again, and of course, we'll be Impact with Noah and JJ on the call. Till then, he is the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams, even on a Thursday, because he has to work Friday, damn it. I am Jeff Meacham. We are the Dads, not always on wrestling. We will see you guys next time. Dang, our new song kicks ass. Anyway, have a good night, folks.